Oh, motherfucker, you can't have my cornbread. That's for damn sure. Because if you try to take my cornbread, part 2 of my killing spree gonna begin up in here on your ass right now. If you think about my cornbread, they get the taste out your mouth. That's for damn sure. Now, fuck him. Fuck that. Because I'm from New York City, goddammit. Nobody take no cornbread from me. That goes for you and any other you motherfucking farmers wanna try some shit. You fuck around with me, it's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
Haters gonna hate, and ain'ters gonna ain't.
That is not an actual thing people say.
What's happening? What's happening? Maestro Styles, Trey Frazier. Welcome to the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast on barbershopsportstalkpodcast.com. We want to welcome you to another episode. We want to say what's up to our first-time listeners. What's happening, everybody who is a weekly listener. Welcome back. We appreciate you. A little bit of information. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. You can follow us individually, myself at Maestro Styles and Trey at Trey Frazier. On Twitter, you can follow us at Maestro Styles and Trey at Barbershop SPOR2. Make sure you like the Facebook page and subscribe to the YouTube page. Trey, what's poppin', man?
Yo, what's good, man? Another week, man, another dollar. Glad I'm safe from all the madness in the world, but we here. We doing this podcast. I'm ready to get this thing jumping, man. What's going on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, if you ain't got nothing going on, let me first say, before we get into sports, man, happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Yes.
That just passed, and happy Juneteenth to us as a people. Celebrating the last, I believe it was in Texas, the last slaves that were freed in Texas on July the 19th. So, happy Juneteenth, man. I took the day off to celebrate and joined the march that was in the DMV area, one of the marches in the DMV area. And when I tell you, I walked. We marched from the mall to the White House, and it was a beautiful thing, man. And I am proud to say I'm a black man, and even in these times, I'm proud to be a black man. Yeah,
I saw you in those streets, man, doing it up.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to, once I finish editing all the photos, I'm a release, put them out in a little portfolio or something. So I've been working on that. So,
no doubt. Yeah, I wish I had the lifestyle, man, to go out and hit the streets and protest and join the rallies and all that kind of stuff. But it's tough when you got 2 little kids and you're always in demand every day. So and other folks might speak a little differently about being out and about in that kind of a setting. Some might worry, but I could tell you, if I didn't have this lifestyle of being married with 2 kids, I would definitely be out in the streets.
Yeah, man. And the only thing I didn't do was make it to the African American Museum.
We talked about that. Yeah,
I did walk past it because when I was ready to go home, instead of catching the train back, I thought it would be a good idea while I was in the mood. I walked from the White House back to National Stadium, which is where my car was. So, so I did walk past the museum, and it was closed by the time I had got back around. So that's the only thing I didn't do yet, but that's definitely about to happen now.
No doubt. No doubt.
Next free day.
Yeah, I don't got nothing interesting. Aside from the podcast, I don't have anything, kind of interesting that, went down over the weekend. It's just, the usual, work my 5 days a week, come home on the weekend, chill, get some housework done.
Well, let's pop it off. Let's pop it off then, my brother.
Yeah. Let's get into it, man. So Sunday night, this news broke about the noose that was found in the garage of where Bubba Watson was storing all his belongings, his car, and things like that. And a lot of folks, rightfully so, was upset about it, had something to say. Even a white dude on ESPN almost dropped the F-bomb on live TV that night because he was so disgusted about, what had just happened and all that stuff. I do have an update on the story, and I'm sure you saw the update too. It was by the investigation people that was conducting the investigation in regards to who left that noose there. So this update from yesterday, I think it was from yesterday. 15 FBI special agents conducted numerous interviews regarding the situation at Talladega. After a thorough review of the facts and evidence surrounding this event, we have concluded that no federal crime was committed. The FBI learned that the garage number 4 where the noose was found was assigned to Bubba Wallace last week. The investigation also revealed evidence, including authentic video confirmed by NASCAR, that the noose found in garage number 4 was in that garage as early as October 2019. Although the noose is now known to have been in the garage number 4 in 2019, nobody could have known Mr. Wallace would be assigned to garage number 4 last week. And one little more thing about it. The decision to not pursue federal charges is proper after reviewing all available facts and all applicable federal laws. We offer our thanks to NASCAR, Mr. Wallace, and everyone who cooperated with the investigation. So this was by FBI agents, Johnny Sharp Jr., J.E. Town, a couple other agents. So that's the update. I want to hear your reaction to everything.
Bullshit. Call bullshit.
Thank you.
I call bullshit. And so the noose. Look, and let's be clear. Even if the noose was there, nobody could have known he was going to be assigned to that garage. I
think they could have known. They could have known.
No, they did know. They ain't no could have. They knew. They knew it. So just so happened. See, here's the thing. I don't believe too much in coincidences. I believe they exist, but I don't believe too much in coincidences. So he comes out with the whole, the Black Lives Matters car, and he's standing up for inequality and police brutality, and then all of a sudden he gets assigned to the place where the noose is at. Like,
yeah, and also let's be clear too. In addition to that, NASCAR is 100% behind Bubba Wallace. They're 100% stripping any and all articles of racism, including the Confederate flag and, other articles of the like. So in addition to that, NASCAR stood behind Bubba Wallace every second of the way.
Well, NASCAR as a corporation did, but a corporation...
That's what I mean.
Yeah, as a corporation, but we know... based on how people are acting, based on their NASCAR statement. By the way, fuck Dustin Skinner. That there are obviously people within NASCAR and within their dichotomy that are against what the statement that NASCAR has made as a corporation. So there are people who are quote unquote with the whole Black Lives Matter and condemning racism and systemic oppression, but there are also still people who believe in that flag to be what to be what it is. And the reason why I'm saying fuck Dustin Skinner, I just saw on Facebook earlier today, Dustin Skinner, who was the son of a former NASCAR driver, I want to say it's Mike Skinner, I don't remember the father's name, basically came out and said, paraphrasing, they should have drugged Bubba Wallace with that noose, and then came back after backlash and apologized for his statement. yeah, fuck you and fuck everybody that's with you and act like you and think like you because because that's what's up and that's what it is. I wish he could hear me because yeah, fuck you like that.
Whoa.
That way.
Oh, he said that?
That's what Dustin Skinner put on a post on Facebook.
All right. Well, I can't be surprised, right?
Yeah. So Dustin Skinner. That's what it is. Don't try to cop please. Now you knew exactly what you said and how you meant it when you said it. Don't apologize. Nah. Getting back to the NASCAR Bubba Wallace thing. I wrote these notes down before that FBI investigation. The conclusion that came out. And look, here's the thing. And I guess, the notes that I read was obviously whoever put the noose there knew how to get access to that garage. You know what I'm saying? So this is not like this is not like some dude, some drunk fan who happened to get to the garage and it wasn't that. It was placed in Bubba Wallace's garage for a reason. That was the notes I came up with, and for that to happen, it's like, okay, if y'all look, if I'm in Bubba Wallace's shoes and I see a noose, I'm taking that like a death threat. And if that's a death, if that's how somebody feels, then NASCAR, I'm still in this place. NASCAR better step up security for Bubba Wallace. NASCAR better be on their P's and Q's, because if something happens to Bubba Wallace, best believe everything that y'all, all the notions, that gestures y'all have made to make us feel like, oh, y'all with the cause, all that shit goes out the window if a hair is touched on Bubba Wallace's African-American head. And we want the smoke. Well,
look, so, and we saw glimpses of them being for Bubba Wallace in that situation. They pushed his car. I saw that on TV where there was a group of people behind his car and they were pushing his car down the track or something like that. I don't know what the context of that was. I'm not even sure if that was during the race or that was post or pre-race. I'm not sure what that was.
Yeah.
But I did see something of that effect where a lot of guys stood behind him and in support and in protection of him. So I hope they keep that up in terms of protecting Bubba Watson. Wallace. I keep saying Bubba Watson, the golfer.
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace, the racer. When I first heard about this story, right, my thought initially went towards, okay, there's people, like you said, within NASCAR, and not necessarily NASCAR, the organization, but there's folks within NASCAR that don't side with Black Lives Matter, that don't side with the statements that NASCAR made, i.e. the dude that, said that I'm not going to, stand for this. I'm just going to leave NASCAR. I forgot the dude's name already. I don't care.
Ray Ciccarelli. Fuck you too.
Yeah, I don't care about that dude. And quite frankly, the dude you just mentioned just now, I don't care about his ass either.
For sure.
But yeah, I immediately thought that there's still folks within the sport that need to get weeded out. And regardless of whether the noose was there in 2019 or not.
Why the fuck was a noose in any garage?
Why was it there in the first place?
In 2019.
In 2019. I get it. I totally understand that NASCAR was at a certain place at that time and that the racism within was, and I don't know this to be certain, but I'll use this word. The racism within NASCAR was rampant. If you're going to tell me that since 2019 of October, a noose was just sitting in the garage.
Right.
Now, I don't know if somebody moved it between now and then. I don't know if this thing just sat there, collected dust a whole year. I don't know. Somebody picked it up, moved it a few times, put it back there. Or this was a prank or a plot or what. I don't know. But I think for the best interest of NASCAR, they have to weed through every single driver. I don't know if that's possible or not, but not only do you got to make the statement, not only do you have to side with Black Lives Matter, but you got to pick apart every racer. You got to look into these dudes' eyes and say, hey, yo, are you down with this cause or not? Because if you not, then get the hell out of our sport.
But not even that. Every employee, not just every racer, every employee, every
Good point.
crew, every single person that gets any kind of money from NASCAR needs to be called into question. Because here's the, like I said, like this statement says to me that they having like a mini civil war inside of their corporation. And look, if you stand for what you say you stand for, what you put out publicly, then these are the things that's going to have to happen. Because, like I said, it was no point in you putting that statement out. We don't. I mean, most black people don't even watch NASCAR. So if you never said nothing, we would have never questioned nothing. So for the fact that you put out this statement and now you got people, supporting y'all, and black people is feeling y'all a little bit more, and we want to get the racer shirt that Bubba, now that we want to patronize y'all product a little bit, you it be in your best interest to figure out how to solve this problem, nip it in the bud quick and in a hurry. I'm telling you, you're not gonna get our viewership if something happened to Bubba Wallace, period.
And just in a little defense of NASCAR, I understand that they are the face of this and they're going to get all the smoke, and it's rightfully so. They're learning how to navigate through this stuff. I certainly, now that I'm kind of sitting here thinking about it, looking back at their statement and kind of looking at their history all the way up to this point, they're just learning how to navigate through all this. I don't think there's going to be an organization that we never heard of praising Black Lives Matter or standing up for that statement to just come out and say that, and then all of a sudden, we're free of, racism. We're free of, we've cleansed everything, every department within our organization. I don't expect that. I expect them to go through some bumps throughout the road, and this is just one of them for NASCAR. And you're right, Maestro. They got to go through not just the racers. They got to go through the HR departments. They got to go through people that change the tires on the cars. They got to go through every department within their organization and look at these people's faces and say, hey, are you down or are you not down with us? And if you're not down with us, then you got to go. This is a learning curve, and this is a learning process for the higher ups at NASCAR. This is the first time that they've had to deal with this kind of situation, given their past prior to everything that went on in the last few weeks. I don't expect them to be peachy perfect all of a sudden. I expect bumps in the road like this. I expect things like this to resurface. It's all about how NASCAR reacts to this now.
There ain't no reaction that's going to have me fucking with NASCAR if something happens to Bubba Wallace. And if, like I said, period, you're telling the truth. Everything you saying is 100% correct. The bump in the road that they cannot afford if they expect to black people to patronize their product is not a motherfucking head better be touched on Bubba Wallace's head.
Agree 100%. So, and they're very fortunate. They're very fortunate that it hasn't gone there yet. While they got this moment now, while Bubba Wallace is still alive and he's still down, he's still Black Lives Matter, he's still all that. Now, NASCAR, y'all got to do the work now. This is gonna get harder, and y'all gonna have to take measures to step up and protect this man, protect y'all sport, get rid of the weed out the folks that you think ain't gonna be down.
Niggas is gonna lie. So we're not gonna weed out every single racist person in that organization. But they better be a quiet ass racist and bet not nothing. All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, if you expect us to patronize your product, NASCAR, hear me loud, hear me clear. If you want us to patronize your product and you want to reach out to our demographic, bet not a motherfucking thing happened to Bubba Wallace physically where he is hurt. Period.
Full disclosure, I'm not patronizing NASCAR. I just want to let the folks know I'm not patronizing NASCAR.
That Black Lives Matter jacket, the stuff I've seen, I would buy it. I would 100% buy it. But
I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying. I know you're saying for you. I get that. I'm just saying for me. I would. But here's the thing. Like, if you expect me to jump in and, oh, yeah, y'all repping all, nothing better than happen to Bubba Wallace. Now he my mans. Now he my mans. That first I knew who he was, didn't really care nothing about him. He better not, he better not let it happen. But better not nothing happen on the account of NASCAR happen to Bubba Wallace if you expect us to patronize the product. Niggas is going to lie. We get that. Niggas is not going to... This is their job. This is their livelihood. Ain't nobody going to sit up there and be like, oh, I'm a racist, and then get fired when they come out and saying, if you're a racist, we going to fire you. So I get that. We're not going to find out.
And folks are going to lie. Folks are going to lie, but guess what? That person come out, who's going to be the face of... If something happened to Bubba Wallace, is the NASCAR going to be the face of that. So that's why I'm saying... Hey, y'all gonna have to come thorough with who y'all want to decide, y'all want to keep, and who y'all want to get rid of.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Even if it means you got to go extra hard, is all I'm saying.
You could be racist in your mind all you want. That don't mean shit to me.
So,
but not nothing happen. You can say all the fuck you want to say in your house in the privacy of your home. If that's who you are, I'm not here to change who you are. Bet not nothing happen.
Let me say what up to the chat room here. We got Mac Farrell in the building. We also got RC, Miss Mocha Bella repping the X Squad. We got Big Kev 303. We also got Key C, the Professor X repping the X Squad up in here. Appreciate everybody in the chat room here. Just a quick comment from RC in the chat. He says, those are the worst kind of bigots, Maestro. The quiet ones. I'd rather you let it be known. But, I hear you, RC, but
then what?
It's up to these cats that either they want to be quiet racist about it or they want to come out.
But keep it a bean. If a motherfucker told you, like I'm asking you, Trey, if a motherfucker told you, "Hey, my name is whatever. I'm a white man and I hate niggers," what would you do at that point?
What would I do at that point?
What would you do?
I probably wouldn't do nothing physically. I would probably do as much as I can to disassociate myself from that person.
I mean, that's all we really talking about. It's like, I guess in the scheme of things, is it just good to know for information? Sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, unless we about to pull up and start. I mean, we're not going to change. We not about to change a motherfucker's mind from being racist because they let us know. Not. What happens next? We got to. I'm going on actions. Let me just say that I'm going on actions. You could tell me you're not a racist, but if your actions are racist, then you should be dealt with accordingly.
Yep, and NASCAR again, they got to make the actions as well. They understand that, like you said, black folks are starting to patronize NASCAR now because of Bubba Wallace. I don't think that's what
they see. I think what they saw is that this was an opportunity to get the black people to patronize, and they stepped up because they saw an opportunity, which I could respect. But at the end of the day,
but now you got to protect the guy now. Now you said these statements. Now you got to back these statements up in it. Because in addition to that, you got to protect Bubba Wallace.
And at this point, if something happens to him, not only are we no longer going to patronize your product, we are going to now protest your product.
Oh, of course,
and that's a fact. And
they got to do everything. And trust me, they got to do everything. Yeah. They got to do everything to make sure nothing like this, happens down the road. I get it's difficult, but they got to do all they can.
Yeah, and they got to. That's the one thing they can't afford to happen. For the sake of their company, we got the power to shut it down. For the sake of their company, they bet nothing better not happen. And that's how I feel about it. Dak Prescott did he sign his tender already?
I thought he did.
Okay,
I thought he signed a tender. But they still got till July 15th, I think, to get a long-term deal going.
Yeah, I don't. I think this is they going. I think they. So, do you think they're going to get a deal done before the end of next year?
Hell no.
Right.
And I hate saying that because I want Dak to get his money.
Of course,
I want him to get the long-term contract with the years and all that. But given the situation with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys and them just kind of messing this thing up from the jump, I don't see it happening.
Right. And I hate to say it, man. It's not looking good for Dak as a Cowboy, man.
So you think he does this 1 year on the 1 year tender and then he's off someplace else?
I'm just going to say it don't look good. I would hate it. Don't look good. Like it, bruh. Amari Cooper. With respect to Amari Cooper, and I know that, and I'm happy he got his money, and I know that he is a integral part of that offense. Bruh, he shouldn't have got that money before Dak. As a matter of fact, really outside of Ezekiel Elliott, everybody that got re-up, and I get everybody ain't getting the same amount of money as Dak Prescott.
And somebody on defense got money too, right?
Yeah, it's several people, but I get no contract is as big as Dak's contract. So, but it's just it's a slap in the face, man. It's a slap in the face that at this point he got to sign a tender. For $31.4 million when he wants, upwards of 34 to, however, 34 and up.
Right.
And he feel like he deserve it. And to be honest, I feel like he deserve it. So, the
tender is $31.4 million.
Yes.
So that's what he'll get under the tender for next year.
Yeah. If they don't get a deal done.
If they don't beat that July 15th deadline. That's correct.
I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see a deal getting done. I don't see it.
Yeah, and you know what would be like the straw that breaks the camel's back also, because this other story with Jamal Adams wanting out of New York and him wanting to come play for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
If the Cowboys somehow was like, okay, we're going to trade such and such and such, and we're going to get Jamal Adams, and we're going to sign you to an extension. That right there would just be the ultimate straw in the back. And if I'm Dak at that point, I'm like, look, damn the tender. Just get me the hell up out of here. Why don't you trade me?
He's been slapped in his face a few times in the past year. And there's no other way to slice it. There's just no other way to slice it.
Yeah, for real. And speaking of Jamal Adams, what do you think about that situation?
What am I going to like? He want to be traded, and he got every right to want to be traded. He's probably a top 5 safety in the game right now.
I'd say top 3.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's just me going off the top. But yeah, you're probably right. And they don't want to pay him as such. And it's not like it's not like he's been the best, for 2 years. He was in his rookie years. He came in on the come up. Like he didn't come in and be sorry. He came in and was on the come up and and within 4 years, he's one of the guys in the league.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, there were a couple of games last year he actually wrecked and wrecked for the other team and actually won for the Jets.
Yeah.
So yeah, a guy like that, I just don't understand. But in defense of Jamal Adams, I know that the Jets last season toyed around with the idea of trading him somewhere else,
right?
And he felt a little salty about that, which I understand. And so now we get to this point, and look, I don't think the Jets, even with Jamal Adams, who's probably the best player on the entire Jets football team. I don't know if I'm, speaking out of line here when I say that.
Depends how you feel about Le'Veon Bell.
I don't think Le'Veon is, what he was when he was in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But it's arguably
sure.
that
I was just throwing it in there.
Okay. I would argue that he's probably the best player on the Jets right now. And the fact that this guy's unhappy for whatever reason, it could be that the team stinks. It could be he thinks he doesn't like the management, or he just wants to go play where he's from. I heard he's from Dallas, from the area. Heard he grew up a Cowboys fan, and so why, if you got a chance to go play for America's team, then, have at it. I saw a little clip where he was in his whip, and homeboys was like, "Yo, Jamal, what up, man?" He was like, "Yo, you coming to Dallas?" And he was like, "I'm trying, man, I'm trying." So that's what lets you know that this whole thing is kind of real. I think that the Jets at this point, if they want to, I don't know, sustain their locker room situation, if they don't want this thing to kind of get out of hand, maybe it's in their best interest to just trade him to whatever he wants and just get some draft picks back for him.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so he dropped the top 5 wish list that read Dallas, Texans, Ravens, Chiefs, and Seahawks.
All playoff teams.
All playoff teams, and all black quarterbacks. Just to throw that out there.
Yep.
I guess best fit in your mind.
Best fit. I would love him on the Ravens.
Of course.
I would love him on the Ravens for certain. Man, if we're talking best fit, let's see. The Chiefs got safeties. I think they're fine with safeties. Tyrann Mathieu plays safety, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Cause I'll be honest. I'm not sure if Jamal Adams is a free or strong safety.
I think he's a strong safety.
Okay.
Because I forgot the other safety's name on the Jets. May is his last name. I can't remember his first name. But I think Jamal Adams is a strong safety.
Okay.
So
who's your strong safety?
Our strong safety is Earl Thomas. Is our strong safety.
Oh, he's actually. Oh, so who's the free?
He's what's his name? Levine.
Oh, okay.
Anthony Levine.
I thought it was the other way around. So okay.
Yep. I did think about the Texans for a minute there. I think he might fit better with the Texans.
I think that's what I was going. I was going with but I ain't mad at the Seahawks neither. But I'm just thinking in my mind, the Texans need leadership on defense.
Yes,
I get JJ Watt's there.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I get JJ Watt's there, but he don't really move me. I would love to see him in Houston.
Yeah,
I would love to see him in Houston.
Just off the top of my head, I think he fits best there. And it's not to say that, let's say he chose the 49ers or the Chiefs or any other, contending playoff teams, that we wouldn't just be like, oh, like, really? Like, what are they going to do? Like, I think every one of these teams has that capability of putting him in, on the defense. That there's a capability there for every team to do that. So, but you're right. I think the Texans, off the top of my head, they look like
I would think they could use him. I know we don't normally report this type of sports news, but this is legendary. If I read this and this is true, when I was a young kid, I was never a big wrestling fan, but there's about a few of them that I could remember coming up, like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, Ultimate Warrior. I read that The Undertaker is just now about to retire. And I don't know how much WWF, yes, I'm saying WWF because that's what it was back then, you used to watch as a kid. But I used to watch a little bit of it, and The Undertaker is still wrestling. I'm fucking 37 years old, and this nigga just about
dude has been wrestling the same amount of time as we've been alive.
Like damn near probably longer. Like for real.
Right.
Yeah, like again, you're not gonna get me to act like I'm a WWE or fanatic or none of that. But and I don't watch it, to be honest with you.
I don't either.
But the Undertaker, he deserves your hat off, your congratulations, your fanfare, your parade. If there is a wrestler that deserves it, it is the fucking Undertaker. So if I read correct, congratulations on a hell of a career, the Undertaker.
Since 1987, this dude started wrestling. So 33 years ago, he started wrestling, and he's 55 years old now. which is crazy. Dude's
crazy.
Wrestling in their mid 50s and all that.
I definitely would have stopped at like 35. Yeah,
I might have stopped at 20 something.
yeah. Especially, I don't know if he goes at the pace as normal wrestlers did, but they was working damn near every night. They might have gotten like 1, 2, maybe 2 nights off a week. Mm-hmm. And, entertaining and traveling and all that shit. So, that's a long, tedious career. So, like I said, if that's the case, definitely congratulations to the Undertaker.
Yeah, go on, live a healthy life, man.
Yeah, man. Well, whatever you can salvage from it, because that is a long fucking career, and it is tiring.
Yep,
I can imagine.
And since we're talking a little bit of, wrestling / boxing, mixed martial arts, whatever genre you want to call it, let me say what up to Deacon Dell in the chat room.
What's happening?
Also got Vince Wright repping the X Squad, Sports Done Right up in here.
What's up, the governor?
He's got a comment in the chat. He says, you see, Oscar De La Hoya wants to come, fight again. And I haven't heard that, but, Vince put it out there.
Sure. Why not?
Get the bread, right?
Well, not even. I mean, look, and don't take this as me comparing Mike Tyson to Oscar De La Hoya, because that is not what's happening. But if there's going to be a renaissance of old fighters coming back to see if they can try their hand with some of these young boys, by all means, go ahead, get you a quick check and get your ass knocked out real quick, and we can move and we can move on. But by all means, if you feel like you can condition yourself to get into that and do that, yeah, I mean, by all means, Floyd been talking about it forever, or playing with it, and like I said, Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield was talking about it recently. If that's what you want to do, player, go ahead. I will say that a Oscar De La Hoya comeback is the most underwhelming of out of the people I've heard that wanted to come back. I'm just not super interested in seeing Oscar De La Hoya fight. But by all means, player.
If he comes back, if he does make this return, who's the cat that he should fight?
I don't know. How much is he going to weigh? I mean, the oldest person in his weight division, whoever that would be, I don't know, man. Like a charity fight, maybe he should fight somebody that's.
You sound annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not annoyed. It's just I don't know. Like, get your money, player, but I don't get it. I don't get it. But who am I to tell us somebody? Like, if you really still love boxing and you love that. Or hell, even if you don't love it like you did, but you just want a reminder of what it felt like to do it. Hey, man, they killing black niggas in the street right now. It is the least of my concern that a motherfucker got the itch and got the money and resources to scratch it.
Yeah, and RC in the chat, he said he's a billionaire, so it's like, all right, well, it's really all about the love of the sport at that point. It's
it could be,
Or
maybe he ain't as rich as we think we are. Like I said, I don't know. I'm sure he got money. I'm just being facetious, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't care. Like, whoever he comes and fight, he gonna have to sell it to me because I ain't really interested.
Right.
I ain't really interested in watching Oscar De La Hoya fight, unless he fighting somebody that I like and I'm gonna watch him get pummeled. Then that's the case. But because all the fighters I like, if I had to guess, if we're talking about Terrence Crawford's, Jeff Horn's, Errol Spence's. Like, nah, man, you ain't doing. I don't even know if he's that heavy, but I would guess he ain't doing that with none of these cats. Like, none of them. Maybe if he try to fight Pacquiao, but Pacquiao dogged him. He dogged Pacquiao dogged him. So it's like, nah, like I don't want to see that.
Yeah, Oscar, get your money, man.
But yeah,
don't let the haters
get a loser check, man.
Get to you, man.
Get a loser check, but it's going to be a loss. Let Maestro be very clear. It's going to be a loss.
Get your money, man. Go get your bread, homie.
It's going to be a fucking loss.
Get the bag, man.
Yeah, but go get it, bro. I ain't
That's
no hater.
count.
Get your money, my nigga. But it's going to be a loss. Just be prepared for the loss. Speaking of fighting, did you hear what happened to Philadelphia tight end Dallas Goedert?
No, I didn't hear
there's
about
a video surfacing. Dallas Goedert, like I said, tight end from the Philadelphia Eagles, got his ass knocked out in a club, a bar in North Dakota. He is from the Dakotas. He went to school in North Dakota, I want to say. Went to college in North Dakota. From what I gather from the video, and let me be clear, like I gotta shoot him a little bill. He was sucker punched. Somebody was messing with him. He was dealing with the person that was messing with him, and the other person caught him slipping. He turned right into the punch, got his ass knocked the fuck out. And that's what it was. But it was interesting because like he's from there. Like people, like he was in a bar where people knew who he was. They know who he was. He's a he's known out there because he played college ball out there. I just wonder, was it just a I'm in conspiracy theory mode nowadays. I wonder, was it just somebody being drunk and fucking with him, or was do he got some ill will in his town?
Yo, I'm watching the video right now.
Yeah.
Yo, that dude got knocked out cold.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll shoot him bail. It was definitely a sucker punch, but yeah, he turned right into it. Like he didn't even see it coming.
Like I can't even tell if he's like he's on the floor and I don't even see his arms moving. Like that's some serious stuff right there. Like I hope he's alright.
Yeah, he's fine. He put out or somebody put out a statement and said that he was fine, but he got his ass knocked the fuck out.
Wow. Well, stay out them bars, man.
Well, at least go with
stay
somebody.
Bars,
go with somebody or something. God,
crazy, man.
Yeah, I don't know what he did to piss somebody off, but don't do that no more.
These some crazy times, man.
Yeah.
Certain.
Facts.
Certain. Baseball announced earlier today that they're making this comeback. So here's the dates that I got, right? So July 1st is when they'll start up baseball, some training camp, I guess.
Yeah.
For about 3-4 weeks. And then July 24th, well, I guess it wouldn't be 4 weeks, it'll be 3 weeks. July 24th would be the first day of the shortened season, which will consist of 60 games, I think. So 60 games within a 66-day period, which means it sounds like it's just going to end, usually about the time that it ends, end of September, early October, that kind of a thing. And then I think what they're going to do as far as playoffs go, I think they're going to expand it. I think they're going to put like 8 teams per league in the playoffs. So my question is this, right? Because I think, they in NBA, there's this conversation about whoever wins the title, is going to have an asterisk, next to it. Mm-hmm. I disagree with that from the sense that the NBA has played about 67, 68 games already before the shutdown. So in the case of the NBA, it would just be them just kind of coming back, starting 8 games. In the end total, it'll be probably a 70-something game season, and then the playoffs start, and then they'll crown a champion. Baseball, their season is cut short by 2/3 at this point. Whoever wins the chip in baseball this year, deserves an asterisk. And I don't care if it's the Yankees, if it's the Dodgers, or your Nationals. I don't care. When you cut a season like that, 2/3, you're going to have an asterisk. Whoever wins the chip.
If the Yankees win, you're going to be like, it's an asterisk?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nationals,
absolutely.
If the Nationals,
I'm not going to take it back. If you're asking me, am I going to take it back? No, I ain't going to take it back.
I ain't asterisking shit. If the Nationals get that chip again, I'm gonna act like it was a full season. I don't care about nothing y'all talking about.
Well, that's a little insane, but okay.
Hey,
I ain't gonna act like it's a full season. I'm just gonna say, hey, we won. What? I don't care if the season was short, long, whatever. Y'all want to throw an asterisk on it? Fine. I'll take the chip.
I'll take it. Yeah. Fuck your asterisk. You can say what you want to say. If it's such an asterisk, why didn't your team win? That's what I'm gonna say. If it's such a damn asterisk. And
the reality is, Maestro, is that if the Nationals or the Yankees do win the chip, nobody's gonna talk about, they deserve an asterisk. But if somebody like the Pirates or the Marlins, win the World Series, then folks are gonna be like, yo, that team deserve an asterisk. Like that team
say that.
To be good.
I wouldn't say that.
No, I know you wouldn't say it, and I wouldn't say it either. But I know that'll be a conversation down the road if it were to happen like that. Yeah. I know the majority of mainstream media is going to say, hey, this was a shortened season. Like if they played 162.
Who won in the NBA championship in '99? Was that the Spurs?
That was the Spurs. Yes.
Did we put an asterisk on that?
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. At that time, I was upset that we lost the championship anyway. Sure. I was upset, and the Spurs. I was like, the Spurs, like where these dudes come from? Like, at that time the Spurs hadn't won anything, up until that point. So for me, not only because my team lost, but it was just the Spurs. Like this no-name team coming out of nowhere. And then the next thing you know, 2003 come, they win the chip, and then 05, 07, and it's like, oh, okay, all right. All right, I ain't mad at y'all Spurs, all right. But, I was kind of salty about that. Mm-hmm. And I think most people at that time felt like the Spurs deserved an asterisk until 2003, 2005.
So you got to run it. So you got to run. Basically, you have to become a dynasty for the asterisk to disappear.
Not necessarily a dynasty, but if they won another one, like, so let's say in baseball, let's say somebody like, and I won't even go like the extreme. I'll just say like a team that was maybe on a bubble last year. Mm-hmm. Let's say the Mets. The Mets were on a bubble last year. Let's say the Mets go out, they win the World Series this year. Everybody's going to say, this is, it was an asterisk, they didn't really, play that many games to prove themselves. Let's say 3 years from now, they win another chip with some of the same core that they got, with Syndergaard and DeGrom and those guys. Let's say they win another one in 3 years. I think at least for me, I would remove that asterisk off of them. But they don't necessarily have to go like, win 3 out of the next 5 or,
gotcha.
3 in a row. They don't have to do that. If they just win another one, then that's enough for me to just be like, all right, y'all made your point. We sorry about the asterisk. We made your point. So.
Right. So RC in the chat room says Ewing was hurt in the 99 playoffs. And Vince Wright responds with, he doesn't know if the Knicks would have won with Ewing anyway. Your response?
I tell you what, Ewing at that point was close to the end, man. Mm-hmm. And I hate the fact that we traded him in 2000 to the Sonics, which was I thought was disrespect at the time.
Right.
But it's so funny. I heard somebody talking on TV the other day. And when you really think about it, when Ewing came in, Bernard King was probably one of the better scorers in the league at that time. You're talking mid to late 80s. And you thought that would be like, the dynamic duo, Bernard King, Ewing, that kind of a thing. And then Bernard King goes through all these injuries and he's never the same. And, Ewing goes on, throughout his career with the Knicks as, the number one guy without really an elite scorer or, a second guy. He didn't get that guy until Allen Houston came into the fold, back in 96, 97. And by that time, Ewing was just on his way, down. Like he was just on his way. So that I think in the case of Ewing, that was unfortunate for his career because he never had a second scorer, until Allen Houston came aboard. And at that point, it was close to being too late.
Right. Okay. So I have this next topic has a little bit of research that I was trying to hurry up and research before you got done talking. What year did Paul George leave Indiana?
I thought he left in 2016.
Okay, it pulled up 2017.
17. Okay.
Who was the best power forward in the game at that time in 2017?
2017, the best power forward?
Yeah.
2017. Best power forward in the game?
Yeah.
Man.
I'm trying to because I meant to do this before before we got on, but I forgot. In short, I forgot. Into 2017.
I don't think there was really. I don't know. You might have to go with somebody by default. I mean, unless you want to call LeBron a power forward on certain occasions.
Well,
but
I'm pretty sure it wasn't LeBron. I just Googled who was the best power forward in 2017, and these are some of the names that came up. Kevin Durant, who we know he's not talking about him.
Right.
Anthony Davis.
Okay.
Draymond Green.
I thought about Draymond too.
But I don't think he was ever.
I don't think he was the best though. I don't think he was the best.
Blake
either.
Griffin.
Wasn't he in Detroit at that point? He was still with the Clippers at that point.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Would you say he was? Would you say he was at least considered the best power forward? I
would say he was. I would say he was considered. Yes.
Okay. So, Paul George did a podcast called the Knuckleheads Podcast recently, and he told a story about why he left Indiana. The story goes, and of course I'm paraphrasing, the story goes, the best power forward in the game at the time, he didn't want to say his name because he didn't want to, he didn't want to put somebody's business out there. The best power forward in the game came to me and said, I want to play with you in Indiana. He said, bet. Went to Indiana and said, hey, so-and-so wants to come play with me. We need to make that happen.
Right.
The Indiana Pacers replied, nah, we can't afford him. This is a small market. We ain't going to have the money to give him, to keep him happy. This is Paul George's account. Then, some time later, they came back to Paul George and said, okay, we can't get such and such, but we got this other power forward who's a top 25 power forward in the game, and he's coming off of an injury. So when they came to Paul George with that, and as a counter, he said, all right, called his agent and said, get me up out of here. So first, chat room, if you're listening, we could try to pick this out together. Who was the best power forward in 2017? One, and who was that top 25 power forward that that came off of an injury in 2000. So who was injured in 2016 into 2017? Who possibly came to the Pacers or could have came? You know, I don't know if they actually signed the guy or not. They didn't elaborate on that. I guess if I'm who and here we are Googling again. I want to find out who was their power forward in 2017 first.
Who was the best, or who was the dude that Paul George was talking about?
Who was the guy that was coming off of injury and ended Indiana Pacers? Shit, I can't type. Pacers.
It sounds like it's Blake Griffin.
It sounds like it's Blake Griffin, possibly. So Blake Griffin possibly coming to Indiana and playing with Paul George, which, by the way, I still don't think is a championship team. But, you know.
It sounds like, because I don't know if it was if it was that season prior to 2017, but I remember the Clippers getting bounced out the first round because Blake and CP3, I thought, missed some time during that first round of the playoffs. I think they lost to the Blazers in the first round that year.
And I'm
if it's that year, then I think Paul George is referring to Blake Griffin.
Okay. And then I'm sitting here looking at the Pacers roster. I don't think they picked up that guy. Whoever the top 25 guy was that they offered Paul George to come play with him, I don't think they picked that guy up. So I'm trying to think who was a top 25 point guard coming off of power forward coming off of injury in 2017. Because George, whoever was named, Paul George was adamant in saying that he was uncomfortable with that guy coming to Indiana and being the second scorer, and said, "Get me up out of here." And then obviously he goes to Oklahoma City. Rest is history. And I'm guessing we're not going to figure that out. But what I got to thinking about is what kind of hit me is that they told Paul George that we don't have the money to pay him. We're in a small market team, which would obviously in city advertisements and stuff like that brings players extra money. I get that dynamic.
Aside from the fact that players don't want to play in cold climate.
Well, the guy said to Paul George, "I want to come play with you."
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't the issue. The guy felt like that him, Paul George, and that roster was good enough to make some noise because he said to him, come fuck with me. And he said, and Paul George, like I said, went to his management and tried to make the play. But do small market teams and do small market teams just don't scout top talent because of their market?
I hope not.
Because for them to say,
I hope not.
If Paul George's account is correct, why would they say, hey, we're not even going to try to get this dude because we got a small market?
Yeah, whoever said that needed to get fired. I don't know if it was the GM, a scout, or hell, even the owner. I don't know who said that, but whoever did, they needed to get some smoke for that. You don't expose yourself like that to one of the better players you don't do that.
So I'm sitting here thinking, when was the last time that you could think of where an acquisition in a small market team, a small market city, when has a big name come to a small market? When was the last time in your mind?
Free agency or trade? There's a difference.
Well, for shits and giggles, let's say both.
Both? Okay.
A superstar. Because again, if the assumption is that it's Blake Griffin, Griffin was a quasi. I mean, I guess you would have to call him a superstar in 2017. But I'll say quasi.
Top. I would say he was top 15
as far as star status.
Star status, yes.
Right. So, yeah, when is the last time a superstar, or let's just say a star for shits and giggles, was traded?
I don't have to go back. I don't have to go back that far. Kawhi Leonard got traded to the Raptors. Now, when you look at the Raptors and you look at the city of Toronto, it's a big city. I think the problem is that I think people outside of the NBA and within the landscape look at Toronto as a small market team because the history shows that they were never able to acquire or lure free agents to come to Toronto. And it may have something to do with the fact that they're in Canada, passport situations and all that stuff. It might have something to do with that. But that comes to mind where a guy gets traded to place that...
You consider Toronto a small market?
I don't consider Toronto a small market. It's a big city, and I think if you took Toronto and you put it in the United States, they're a top 10 market.
I think they're a top 10 market now.
I'm saying like population wise. You put Toronto in the United States ranked with all the other cities here, with New York, Philly, Dallas, LA, Chicago, you put them with that group, they're top 10. They're a top 10 market.
I might argue they're top 5. Let's go down the list. Top markets.
Well, New York, LA, Chicago, that's the top 3.
Okay.
That's always been the top 3. After that, you're probably looking at Houston and Dallas. After that,
I don't think Dallas is a bigger market than Toronto, but maybe Houston.
Oh,
maybe.
Man.
We're talking about basketball. We're talking about basketball market. We're talking about basketball.
We're talking basketball. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what that means when you say if we're talking basketball.
Meaning that a player can come. See, the thing is that a player being able to come here and make money because fans like basketball. So,
okay. So you're talking about like the fan base, like who has like which big city market has that fan base, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking at?
Right. So he's going to get endorsement money because he's going to get more. So he would get more if we're talking about Kawhi, he would get more endorsement money in Toronto than he would in Dallas. Dallas is more of a football thing, more of a football city.
It's a football city, no question about it. No question about it.
He would get more money in Toronto than he would. I hate to say it, but he would get more money in Toronto than he would in DC. He would get more money in Toronto than he would in Milwaukee. He would get more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
in Atlanta, yeah.
So if we're talking, and Vince Wright just said it because I was going. Golden State is probably top 5.
Bay
Golden
Area.
They're top 5 right now.
Top 5. Okay, so we're just talking in basketball circles. We're not talking population. We're not talking size. Okay.
We're talking about people that patronize the NBA.
Okay, so we're really talking we're talking fan bases. We're talking fan bases, and we're also talking about endorsement opportunities.
Right. We're talking
in that particular city.
So the population of people that are basketball fans, it would see Kawhi Leonard on the cover of a local business, and people would start patronizing that business because Kawhi Leonard face is on it. You know what I'm saying? Where the percentage of people that would patronize that product now because Kawhi Leonard is the face of that that market. So if we're talking top 5, and then and I don't know, New York, I get it, but New York ain't a big.
Try to remove the ineptitude of the Knicks from that, and just look at who patronizes the Knicks. There's a lot of New Yorkers and people outside of New York that do patronize the Knicks, despite them, being so bad for so long.
Golden State is a bigger market than Chicago. Is a bigger market than New York right now. I don't remember who the first person you mentioned. L.A. So I would. They're not a bigger market than LA, but I would.
Top five. Golden State is in the top five.
Golden State is in the top five. I'd be honest with you, and maybe it's my bias for New York, and I'll admit that maybe that's the case. I don't have New York or Chicago being top five.
I think I agree with you with the Bulls. I just think with the Knicks, if you just combine the,
and they damn sure not going to be this year the way your boy.
Of course not. Of course not. But I'm just looking at, if we're talking opportunities to make money, New York City is always going to have those opportunities, whether the Knicks are good or whether they're bad. Just because it's New York. The fan base is always going to show up for the Knicks, despite whether they're good or whether they're bad.
I get that, but I disagree with you. I don't think people are going to buy, New York fried hot dogs because of who am I talking about? Because Julius Randle is on the cover of it. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like the endorsement money. Whereas if Julius Randle was balling out in Golden State, if he had the stats he had in New York in Golden State, we can get him some endorsement money.
Got it. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think Chicago, New York is in the top five. I wonder, and I'm, I don't want to be blasphemous here. I wonder if we can get New York and Chicago out of the top 10. I wonder.
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, when you're talking, so again, I think you're talking about endorsement opportunities. You're talking about the ability to sell a product because so and so plays for this particular team. I think you're referring to the fan base of that team. So if you combine those three things all together, there's no question in my mind that Golden State is there, and it might be number one. It might be number one right now.
Yeah, they charge $75 in that new stadium for you to stand up.
Right. Even though Golden State's not having a good year this year, and we know why. It's not because they don't have talent.
Yeah.
I got to look at LA being in that top five.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
LA is right there. Are we counting markets or are we counting teams? Because if we're counting teams, I think the Clippers are right there too.
I would say teams, but I don't know. I don't know if the Clippers are top five though. In
terms of marketing, and,
yeah.
Really?
I don't. The team, because and like I said, we freestyling, but
and maybe it's easier to just go by city.
Well, because it's easier to go by teams because the Clippers don't get the same love as the Lakers. Like, that's just not the case. Even with Kawhi, even with the team that they have arranged, the Lakers are still the big dogs right now.
They're still the big, and they'll always be the big dogs.
I don't know if they'll always be, but they certainly are right now.
Yeah, I think they always will be until the Clippers can, maintain some stability in terms of winning championships. But, that's, we'll have a conversation about that further down the road. But so if we're talking teams, Lakers, Warriors, I tell you what, don't you think about the Heat as being top five?
Maybe. Miami was who I was going to mention when you asked me. But when you hit me with the three, New York, Chicago, it kind of threw me off. But, because, again, I would put Miami above Chicago.
Yeah, I would put more. And as much as I hate to say it, I think you got to put Boston in that mix, too.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? I mean, I don't. And that's a place that you don't hear a lot of, free agents wanting to, go to Boston. Not, historically. I mean, you had Kemba Walker do it this past offseason, but prior to that, you had Ray and Garnett get traded there, but nobody played to the end of the contract and said, I'm going to go play for the Celtics. You know what I'm saying? That's happened with the Warriors recently. That's happened with the Lakers in previous moments. It's happened with a lot of bigger market teams. That's more noticeable. That's more marketable.
Right.
It's happened to the Heat.
Yeah.
Which is why I bring Miami into the picture. I think you got to put Miami in the top 5.
Okay, let me think about this.
I think Miami's got to be there.
So Golden State, Lakers,
the Heat, the Celtics, and that fifth one. I still, again, we're talking opportunities to make money. Well, I guess Houston. Yeah, I guess Houston is. Yeah, Houston. Yeah, and now that you say that, I think the Rockets' ability to, because they were the ones that sort of introduced China to the NBA because of the Yao Ming connection and that kind of a thing, and so that marketing took it to it took marketing to the next level with the NBA. So yeah, I'll say the Rockets. Okay. So I guess that's the 5.
Okay,
I guess that's the 5 in terms of marketability, in terms of
players coming there and being able to get their endorsement money,
and
it's
things like
Indiana.
No, it's not Indiana. But I gotta say this about the Pacers, though. For as long as they've been a successful franchise. And I remember weeks ago when we were talking about Jerry Sloan, I said that the Jazz was probably one of the best franchises of the 4, team sports in this country without a championship.
Right.
I think the Pacers are probably number 2, number 3-ish, in that group. Because when you go through the history of the Pacers, so you get the Reggie Miller years, and Reggie stayed his entire career with Indiana. There was no, I'm going to LA, I'm going to go to a bigger market, that kind of a thing. There was none of that with Reggie. Reggie stayed put in Indiana.
Right.
So you had that run. Then you had the Steven Jackson, Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, couple of years there. And I know the fight that happened at the Palace, that kind of changed things for that franchise. And then you had the Paul George years with Hibbert and West and, and Stevenson and those guys. And now you got the Oladipo crew with those guys. They've been, it seems like you could change the players, you could change the general managers, you could change the jerseys. And some way, somehow, the Pacers always end up, competing for a playoff spot, or they're in the playoffs.
Interesting point. So, but we're confident in saying that the only way that small market teams can become major market teams is in the draft. They got to find that guy.
The draft,
like for instance,
and be a trade.
Well, like I said, I don't know. I mean, unless who is going to trade their superstar to a small market? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to trade them?
Well, it happened with the Spurs. The Spurs traded Kawhi to Toronto, and again, I'm not saying that Toronto is a small market team. I just think because of the dynamic between the Canadian team and the rest of the teams in this country, I think there's a, for some reason,
I don't think they're a small market team. Let me just cut you off. I don't think they're a small market team. I think they're a top 10 market team. So I don't think that example is relevant to the conversation because Toronto ain't a small market team.
Well, let me put it like this: they're a big market that's been looked at as a small market. If that better explains it.
I don't even know I don't even know how you look at them as a small market. I mean, because when Kyle Lowry built that city. Let's be very clear. Kyle Lowry and Chris Bosh built that basketball market. And while they weren't top 5, they were one of them teams since they've been there. They were one of them teams that when you look in their stands, them stands is full. People fuck with the Raptors. I mean, hell, I wouldn't say they was.
And full disclosure, they never played together. Just so.
Who's that?
Because you said Lowry and Bosch. I'm just saying, full disclosure, they never played together.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that
I wasn't sure if you meant to say that because you thought they.
I was more so just saying that those types of talents, like even I don't think Vince Carter built the city, but Vince Carter and Vince Carter was certainly the.
I think he helped put the.
He was
Raptors,
a building block. He was a building block. Yeah, him and McGrady were building blocks. But
there was a building block.
Yeah, but there was a time when they weren't, and then they kind of gradually became a top 10 market in the league. And let's be clear, at least since let's say right before Bosch left. And what was that? 2003, 2006? Was that
2010?
It was already in 2010 when he left Toronto. Yeah, right. Okay,
because remember,
LeBron.
It's LeBron and Bosch.
Gotcha. They was on the fringe. They was on the fringe, and it was because they were winning. They were, it was because they were winning. It's not like Kyle Lowry or even Chris Bosh was some great big superstar, but they were consistently winning, and fans eventually started coming. They got one of the better fan bases in the league.
I agree with you there. I was waiting for you to talk about the fan base in Toronto. Yeah, they do have one of the better fan bases in the NBA. I don't know. I think we just kind of slightly, or we might be saying the same thing in terms of, are they small market? Are they large market? I agree with you that Toronto's a big city. That fan base is rabid. It probably has it's probably got a top 3 fan base.
Kyle Lowry is probably has probably made a lot of money in endorsements.
It's possible. It's certainly possible. I'll say this though. Every offseason when there's a superstar that's on the market that's, fulfilled the end of their contract with a particular team, you never hear the Raptors in conversations of a possible destination for some of these guys. Okay. You almost never hear it.
Okay.
So maybe that's why I'm kind of leaning towards them.
Until
not being a popular destination for superstars. And once again, I get that it's a big city. Vince Wright said in the chat they're top 4, in the entire I think continent. I think, but historically, when you look at players that have gone on from their other contracts from other teams, you almost never hear Toronto as a destination.
Well,
you never hear it.
Yeah, but until Kawhi Leonard, though.
Now that wasn't free agency. That was a trade.
Okay. Well, but we did say trade and free agency, though.
Sure. We did say that.
Yeah.
But I think it also. I think to answer your question about
they traded him to a big market.
They traded him to a bigger market than San Antonio, obviously. But the Spurs, we left them out when we were talking about who's top 5.
I don't think they're top 5.
You don't think they? I think the thing about the Spurs, I think there's lack of endorsement opportunities in San Antonio.
Maybe.
I think there's lack of opportunities there for that. As far as fan base is concerned, I think they're right up there with some of the other teams in terms of fan base. They're one of the, they've been successful for the last 20-something years. But when it comes to opportunities to make money elsewhere, San Antonio is not the place. I think Toronto is a place. New York is a place. I think Golden State and, that Bay Area, I think is a place. Houston for certain. Boston, a little. In terms of endorsement deals with Boston, I don't know. I think it's probably like midway between what a San Antonio is and what a Toronto is. Mm-hmm. But their fan base in Boston is rabid. Like they fill the place up every night.
But that's why I think that Boston is up there. Like you don't have to if you're the best player. like I can imagine Tatum's numbers up as far as endorsements. Everybody know who Jason Tatum is in Boston.
Right. And I hate to say this too, but if the Celtics are smart, and I gotta believe that they got some smart people in that organization, they will lock Jason Tatum up for life to be a Celtic.
Yeah.
With his trajectory and all that.
I got one more thing.
Okay. I got like a couple things.
Okay, well you throw some because I feel like I was just working my shit.
Oh no, it's all good. It was a good conversation to have though. Definitely, something worth talking about. I left this out last week. I meant to bring it up, but we were kind of ready to get off the podcast and all that. Carrie Champion, as you know, is no longer with ESPN, right? Mm-hmm. So her production company and Jamel Hill's production company are going to produce a brand new show that's going to premiere on the Vice network.
Yeah, I heard that.
At some point later this year. And it's going to be sort of what Desus and Mero did, before they went to Showtime. Yeah. So basically, both their production companies are going to collab. They both have control of their content, which means they're going to, decide what they're going to talk about, how they want to talk about it. And, ain't nobody going to tell them nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is brilliant. Yeah, this is what's needed right now.
What the hell happened to Michael Smith, man?
Didn't he invest in some kind of media company or something? I thought I saw on Twitter like a couple years ago. I thought he made like a huge investment in something, and I think he's doing well though.
Okay,
I really think he's doing well. It's just that I think he's just kind of playing a different role away from the TV.
Well, no shade to Jamel Hill and Curry Champion. No shade to that at all. I'm happy for that. I want to see Jamel Hill and Michael Smith figure it out, man. That's what I want to see. I was an avid fan of the podcast, His and Hers, not the shit they try to put on TV and all that. But the podcast, I was an avid fan of that. I hate that it ended the way it did for that, that talent combination. Do
you think it was because those two had a falling out, or do you think it was just ESPN? Okay.
I think it was ESPN. I think that didn't work out, and Jamel Hill got into it with Donald Trump at the time, and then ESPN fucked that up. But I wish they could figure that out now that both of those guys are. I'm assuming that Michael Smith is gone from ESPN.
He's work for them.
Yeah, so I would love to see them figure that out. I really did enjoy that dynamic. But shout out to Curry Champion and Jamel Hill because I like that dynamic too.
I will watch that show.
Yeah, I'd watch it. I mean, I'm not saying I would set my timer and tune in, but if I'm flipping and say, oh shit, yeah, I would definitely watch it because I like both of them. Yeah. Shout out to Curry Champion, I would her attractive ass.
And I tell you what,
got good insight too.
Who's that?
Curry Champion. I like listening to her talk.
Oh yeah.
I'm an avid listener to Jamel Hill's podcast anyway, the one that she does on Spotify. So
yep. I loved Carrie's interview on All the Smoke podcast a while back. She did the podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson.
She actually did an interview years ago with my man's who do shout out to my man New to Mayor. He does a podcast called Kickback. But back then, I forget the name with the old name of it, but he did an interview with Curry Champion after trolling her on Twitter for a while. But that's good man's from the DMV area. He in Atlanta now. Good man's New to Mayor. Shout out to him.
Mm-hmm. Their first guest, whenever this show kicks off between Jamel and Carrie, their first guest,
Michael Smith,
have to be you say Michael Smith. Okay. I can't argue with that one. I can't argue with that. Their first guest to me has to be Angela Rye, Amanda Seales, and you get those four women in a room together. to talk politics, to talk anything, whatever, white folks ain't gonna be ready for those kind of conversations, because all four of those women are gonna tell it like it is, and is not gonna filter anything. I'll be up for that.
I ain't mad at that.
I would be up for that, for certain. And speaking of Amanda Seales, she left the real.
Yep.
A few weeks back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was too real for the real. That's kind of how I put it.
She just said she said it didn't sit right with her spirit. I mean, I get it. She looked uncomfortable. I watched a few episodes, or seen a few episodes on Instagram, just scrolling through Instagram. She looks uncomfortable every single time. They talk about a whole bunch of shit that she don't really seem interested in. I'm glad. I mean, I was happy that she tried it. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. She's a dope personality, but not for that. Not for that.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. But she wanted to do her own thing, and hey, I like her career path and everything. Comedian. I think she put an album out years ago. Like, she used to rap and all this stuff.
She used to sing with Floetry when
Right. Yeah, she used to sing with Floetry, and I remember that show, My Brother and Me. That was on Nickelodeon. That was Amanda Seales playing Dion, which was I think the sister's friend. They used to come over the house. So yeah, you just know about that. You don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah.
I think folks know what I'm talking about that are listening. But yeah, she from '94. We're talking about from 1994 all the way to now. That's how I knew about her. So shout out to Amanda Seales, man. So I got one more thing, right? I think this is of importance to talk about, because I brought this issue up with Vince Wright a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that with everything going on with the protest, Black Lives Matter, and the NFL coming out, Roger Goodell coming out to claim Black Lives Matter, and all the black quarterbacks and players coming out defending Black Lives Matter in the fashion that they did. So the Detroit Lions owner, Marcia Ford, is giving up her ownership to her daughter. I don't remember the daughter's name. I thought I had the article here, but so they're giving up the ownership. They're stepping down, letting the younger children take over the franchise, and kind of helping it move forward. So when I saw this story earlier, right?
And by the way, the daughter is Sheila Ford.
Sheila Ford. Okay, yeah, appreciate that. So when I saw the story earlier, I thought about what I said to Vince Wright a couple weeks ago, and I said that I predict that at some point you're going to start to see owners across the league start to pass down their franchises to their kids, because I think that we've gotten to a point where owners are not so much that they don't know how to deal with what's going on, and maybe that is the case, but that they wouldn't be able to navigate their franchises through this. So instead of, fighting something that you don't believe in, or navigating through something that you don't believe in, pass it down to a younger generation that can lead these franchises and be hip to what's going on with social injustice and Black Lives Matter and, things like that. I don't expect it to happen in waves. I think this could happen in the next 5, 6, 7 years, where you start to see changes in ownership. Mm-hmm. And I give you a couple of good examples. I think we referenced the Texans last week, and the owner passing away, prior. I remember that incident that he got smoked for. It was the statement where he said, "We can't have the inmates running the asylum."
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I won't speak on dead people, but
that was terrible.
Yeah.
But the franchise has new ownership now. So I think with the Texans, I think at the top, they'll be able to navigate through, what this country's been preaching about in terms of Black Lives Matter and social injustice. I think the Seahawks ownership has been able to adjust to the things that have been happening. The face of the team spoke out, hosted the ESPYs a couple nights ago. Real strong. Shout out to Russell Wilson for doing that. I think the Seahawks ownership is in a position to where they can navigate their franchise through this. I don't think the Ravens owner is going to go anywhere because he's already come out and, down with the cause and all that. I don't think he's going anywhere. But I think teams like the Giants, where you still got, crusty white ownership still at the top, like the Giants, the Bears, maybe the Cardinals. Trying to think of a few more teams off the top of my head. But
I just hope that the young crusty white folks ain't racist like the old ones.
Yeah, sure, and I get that could be I get that that's a concern. I do.
I mean, look. If I owned the team, I would probably pass it to my kids too. I get it. That's not my issue. I just hope that they're properly navigating these situations.
Right. So I made that prediction a couple weeks ago, and you see it now with the Lions, and so it's like, okay, this is the first domino to fall. Let's see.
How long before Jerry Jones and James Dolan?
Yeah. Because Jerry's been silent, and I saw Gerald McCoy kind of call him out on TV the other day. I didn't watch that interview, but I did see some comments from him about that. Yeah, Jerry's been silent, man. I mean, we obviously know how he feels.
Yeah. I mean, he's at the very least complicit.
Yeah. Oh, for certain.
At the very least.
For certain. Like, is he going to give the team to Stephen Jones? Is he going to be like, I'm going to step down and hand the team over to my son? I don't know.
I don't know neither.
Jerry loves the camera too much to do that, in my opinion.
He'll still be on camera, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I think it would take attention away from.
I think he likes being. I think he likes being the owner. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, he would take attention away from new Cowboys ownership. That is. So I think this is a good thing what the Lions did. With the owner, passing it down to a daughter and just letting her daughter navigate through this, and I think it's good. I mean, we talk about it even in real life, where one day when we get older and we have all these assets that we would like to pass it down to our kids, so that when it is our time, our kids don't have to struggle with acquiring what we left behind. They already have it.
Right.
So I think this is good in that sense. I also think it's good in a sense that, and I don't know Martha Ford from a can of paint. I don't know her, but it sounds like, and I haven't heard her comment about Black Lives Matter either, but it sounds like she's just said, you know what, this is a climate that I just can't get with.
She also was
my daughter.
She was also the owner who donated money to some cause, a black movement cause of a few years back when the first surge of police brutality was happening, and players had went to her lobbying that we need to help in some kind of some way, shape, form, or fashion. And she was also that owner, or probably the lone owner, at least the lone owner that we know about, that that did try to attempt to donate to some type of black movement cause. So
that is true.
Shout out to her.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that. It's one thing to do something like that behind the scenes. You move in silence and all that. It's one thing to do that, and it's another thing to come out on TV or on a radio interview and do what Roger Goodell did, or do what Steve Bisciotti did on TV or on social media. It's another thing to do that. I haven't seen her do that.
Right.
So,
right. Okay, well, my last thing. What do you think Colin Kaepernick's legacy is going to be?
I think his legacy is going to be that he was, in hoping that we're still in this climate and that this climate moves forward positively, he's going to be looked at as the guy who gave up a contract, gave up his NFL career to become a martyr. And in my eyes, rightfully so, because he brought attention to something that affects us daily. He's going to be looked at as a guy that gave it all up. And I don't want to use the terms "give it all up." He gave up a contract. He gave up an opportunity to make money in the NFL, and he gave up his playing career so that he can bring awareness to white America for, police brutality. Mm-hmm. I think that's what his legacy is going to be. It's not going to be anything like a Hall of Fame kind of a thing. It's not going to be, and I heard Brett Favre's comments earlier this week where he's saying that he's going to be looked at the way Pat Tillman was looked at, and I thought Brett caught a little bit too much heat for that. I think his words were misconstrued in a sense. I don't think he was calling Kaepernick a hero specifically because of what he did, and then comparing it to what Tillman did as far as leaving the game and going to war and all that. I think he was just saying that what the perception would be from the outside is that they would look at Kaepernick as a hero the way Tillman was looked at as a hero from the outside. So I think Brett caught a little bit too much heat for that, but I think all in all, his career it's just going to be looked at as that he gave up the opportunity to make money in the NFL and gave up his career so that he can bring awareness to police brutality, social injustices, and even for me, he brought awareness to me in terms of the Star Spangled Banner, because I think you and I talked about this. I never knew about the third stanza until he brought light to it. And then that article in theroot.com made mention of it. And then you made mention of it. So I learned a little bit more about that. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I need to not stand for the anthem anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I think that if Brett, let me say this. I hope Brett Favre is right in that his legacy will be comparable to Pat Tillman, because that would mean that some sort of a change. We made some sort of progress for him to be regarded or his regard to be comparable to Pat Tillman, because Pat Tillman is a celebrated war veteran. And as far as the public opinion goes, there isn't a bad thing that can be said about Pat Tillman, which means that the narrative would emphatically be changed on Colin Kaepernick and how some people feel about him now, meaning the people who don't understand why he took a knee and that knee wasn't disrespectful to the flag, that narrative will be changed and shifted into what its true intention was. So I hope that his legacy will be somewhat comparable to Pat Tillman, because I want him to be celebrated the way Pat Tillman is celebrated, often. Colin Kaepernick deserves to be celebrated that way. I just hope that I'm allowed to see it.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. And there's folks out there that still, vilify Kaepernick for, taking a knee during the anthem. I'm not surprised about that. People still, just want to take just what they want to take from it instead of, finding understanding and listening to people talk and, have these, conversations that are tough conversations, but they need to be had. So folks still to this day, they get on the radio, they say, Kaepernick gave up nothing. Like he he disrespected America. He did this, and it's like, wait, like that's not necessarily a crime. What Colin Kaepernick did. I mean, you might not like it, but I mean, respect what he was standing for.
Right.
It seems like y'all indicted to this anthem. Y'all indicted to this flag that really hasn't stood for us as a people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I hope, and shout out to all the black people still protesting in the streets, man, because they still out there doing it, man.
And it need to be.
Yeah. They in Baltimore City, they just there's a street called Linwood Avenue, goes through Patterson Park on the east side, and they wrote Black Lives Matter in red all on the side of the road, and similar to what they did in D.C. Next to the White House. Mm-hmm. A lot of cities are doing that. Yeah. Like I saw Cincinnati do it, New York City, Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, my neighborhood, just a few blocks from, where I lived at, right on Fulton Street there. They took up one whole city block and, did the Black Lives Matter thing, which is pretty dope. In addition to that, though, we love to see more changes in terms of reform, in terms of whether y'all going to defund the police. And let's be clear about what defunding is. It's not eliminating the police department completely. It's allocating assets that used to go to the police department and putting some of that towards other programs in society. So right. I hope that conversation continues. I hope that more change is coming. We're definitely going to need it. Even in light with the noose incident with the NASCAR thing, I expect to see more stuff, not necessarily the noose thing, but I expect to hear more stories about white racist people retaliating towards our movement moving forward. And we're just going to have to fight back. We're just going to have to combat that with something stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. RC says Kaepernick will be remembered like John Carlos and Tommy Smith, and to some degree Ali as well. I'll take that too. Yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, legendary, legends.
I'll accept it
for sure. Hey man, well we could end on that note, man. On a positive note of Colin Kaepernick being a historic figure in American culture. In American history. I want to say thank you to everybody who listened, to everybody that's in the chat room. Everybody's going to catch the show on demand.
Yep.
I appreciate it. I was a little ignorant. I was a little irritated with the whole Bubba Smith situation. But I mean what I say. As
we should be, bro. We should be.
Yeah, but definitely thanks to everybody in the chat room. Tell a friend.
H-Rap B, what up?
What's up, player? Tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? We out here. Follow us at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Follow me at Maestro Styles. Follow him at Trey Frazier. That's on Instagram. On Twitter, follow me at Maestro Styles. You can follow Trey at Barbershop SPOR2. Make sure you like the Facebook page and subscribe to the YouTube page. And by the way, Trey, side note, we need to do a little Zoom or something that we could put on YouTube or something. We gotta find something to argue about. Anybody want to argue with me and Trey on Zoom? We gonna record it and put it on YouTube for some content, man. We just need to find some good arguing points.
I think we can, maybe get a guest, maybe every now and then on a Zoom, and I like that idea.
Yeah. But we appreciate y'all. We're gonna get some content out on there. For Trey Frazier, this is Maestro Styles. We will holler at y'all next week.
Peace.